everyone, this is Sally with the Polka Dot Life. I have been absent for a little while on my channels, but it is for a very good and sweet reason. My husband and I were blessed with our first grandchild, and we just couldn't be more excited. Our daughter and son-in-law live out of state, and so we went and spent some time with them and snuggling with our new baby. There are just some blessings from God that you have to embrace and just put everything else aside. While we were gone, my paper pumpkin kit arrived, and it is the Expressions in Color kit. And I went ahead and opened it because so many people have already done unboxing videos. I figured that was kind of just a waste of your time at this point. But I have some projects for you, and I would like to show them to you today. The contents of our paper pumpkin kit stand alone. They are amazing. But we also have products in our annual catalog that are part of the Expressions in Ink suite of products. This is just a stamp set and the dies, but there are so many things that are going to work back and forth between the annual catalog and that paper pumpkin kit. It helps us to stretch our supplies on both sides to go a little bit farther. Let's put the camera down and get started with today's project. Okay, I really liked the projects in this month's kit. And so sometimes I will do ones that use the pieces of the kit because I don't love them. Or sometimes I will just go ahead and let you know that I'm going to make the projects as intended and just do alternatives that just use the stamp set or use a coordinating product, something like that. I have a little bit of a combination video today. I really do like the projects in the kit, but I did take one of these cards and I'm cutting it up. So let me start with that one first. And you can see I've already cut some off of this for my sample card. And we're even going to change that one up just a little bit. So first we're going to go to 1.5 on our trimmer. And we are going to cut straight up and take part of this inked portion. Now we are going to cut just a little bit. We're going to go up to this first line to take 1/4 inch off. And I kind of want to keep the pink side, so I'm going to do that on the purple end. But that is just a preference thing. Doesn't really matter which one. And then on the fresh freesia, we are going to do one of these at 1 3/4 inches. And we'll keep this. Okay, I have the little foam mat from my Stamparatus out here, and I have a piece of basic white cardstock. I'm going to use the fresh freesia ink and our little splotchy stamp. This is a stamp that you want to try every time that you use it on a piece of scrap paper. Now I have been working with mine today, so I know how this ink pad is, so I don't really need to do that. But every time you try it and you use a different ink pad, you need to try it on a piece of scrap paper because some ink pads are juicier than others. If they're new, especially, or if they're one that you've well loved, you might not have re-inked it recently. So you just want to see how that is going to go. Because you might even practice stamping off 2 or 3 times to see what colors that you get. And I know that I kind of want to go full strength here in the corners. And I just kind of tended to do these both about the same. And then I took this stamp and I flipped it over. And I've done all 3 of these full strength. So I'm just going to scooch it over a little bit because I want to have a place to stamp off. And I'm not going to be super particular. I'm just going to come in and kind of rotate things a little bit. Some are going to overlap, some are not, and that variates the ink a little bit too. And let's see, let's just do a little bit around, kind of around these edges is kind of the look that I'm going for. so, so fun. And you know, you kind of might even want to go over a couple places a few times just to get that variation in ink. I just want to make sure that there isn't any white space left on the end, just because I'm going for this to be kind of a blended look here. And so we have our piece here that's going to go on the inside. And I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. Grab my bone folder, and I have already scored this piece of polished pink, and I'm going to just simply fold that in half. And I am just going to be sure to give that a nice crease. I am just probably going to keep that side to the back in case it gets a shiny edge to it or anything like that. I've brought my trimmer back in, and I'm just going to open this, and I am going to just remember that this is the front of my card. Not really that it makes a difference, but I am going to just simply cut off 3/4 of an inch. Right off the front of my card. And we will just keep this for another purpose. Okay, so we have our card, and then we have this inside portion that we stamped along the side. I am simply going to run some tape runner, and I'm just going to do that on here because I might go over it a little bit. I really want the edge to catch. That is one thing really nice about the seal, is you can just kind of run it right over that edge even a little bit, and it's going to be fine. It'll just kind of either naturally roll back onto itself, or you just need to take a little sweep of your finger and do it, and you'll be really good to go. Just going to move this mat out of the way, and I am going to open this up, and what I'm concerned about is getting it lined up with at least 2 edges. Hopefully it will line up with 3, but we can always trim this if we absolutely have to. If it really looks unsightly or there's a big discrepancy, we can just stick this in our trimmer and cut a little pass off if we need to. We'll just take a good feel around and make sure that we don't have any of that adhesive sticking on. And now you can see what we wanted to accomplish was that I wanted a piece of what appeared to be some of that alcohol ink pattern on the inside of this card that showed through. But in order to do that, we needed to add this white piece. But that's good because I would have added a white layer inside of my card anyway. And I cut it short here purposefully, just a little bit, because you want this to be able to open and close and not be hindered in any way. So we also have our pieces that we cut at the beginning of the video. And I'm not planning to go over those ones on the edge, so we're good just to use our surface here for our tape runner. And I think that I want this pink up towards the top on mine. We're just going to simply center this the best that we can, equal sides around it. It's a pretty straightforward card, but I do think the elements that we use are striking. And I will be placing this, and I just have to see where I want it to go. I don't want to adhere this down just yet. This time I do want this right up against here, because I'm going to have to stick some elements into that. I'm only going to put it on one side now. I'm going to show you the card and show you the difference. So this is the card that we are making, and I think it's just a happy card. This one, I cut a piece of vellum, and I do like it. I kind of maybe just wish that it popped out a little bit more, so I wanted to try something just a little bit different. And then we have some elements from the kit that we're going to put in there and some embellishments. Now, you can absolutely use the piece of vellum that came in your paper pumpkin kit. I just wanted to show you that the artistically inked pieces, this is one of the large dies, and so that's what I cut out with this. And now I cut some off of it so it didn't come sticking out the other side. But there's also an ephemera pack that we have some matching pieces that are gold you could use. Just use a different color, whatever it is that you want to use. Just, I wanted to have an element that came out here. So we're just changing this one up a little bit. I decided to try a white one and see how that would go. So there is my sticky side. And I kind of just want to lay this down about where I want it to be. And I want this to hang over, but not go past that edge of the card. And so let's see here. I might like that to go about like that. So I'm going to pick that back up. I'm going to see if I needed to trim any of that off. Now I could and repurpose that. That would be just fine. I probably am just going to leave that on there to just to give it a little bit more support so that I don't have to worry about that coming loose. And then this is one of our elements from the kit. If you have used your supplies from the kit but want to make this card, we have different sprigs in different sets in the catalog. I know the Forever Greenery, the Forever Fern, that has some great sprigs and pieces of greenery that would work. We have a punch. There are just several things that would work. And I'm just going to kind of bring these in behind and find a place on the back of here where I can press that down. And I don't really want this to go any further up this way because this is level with the top of the card. Let's find a little place to push this in, make sure it gets settled, seated in there nicely. And every card you do may be just a little bit different. And you certainly could variegate the colors of these little sprigs. So we have these kind of pushed in where we want them. And then I want to just take my tape runner and come right on over top of those and give them a real nice, you know, a hold on there. You take it over kind of both directions. And it's easier when that stem is longer. This little short one is just a little bit more difficult. But now we can bring our card in. And we can just kind of guesstimate where we want this to go. And you just kind of want to make sure that this portion is straight. If you get it lined up along the bottom or the top, then that should help you guide to make sure that this space is straight. A random piece of tape runner. But that is really fun. And I actually like that white on there. I did go ahead and cut a sentiment out. And however you do this and where you place it is totally up to you. I chose to do mine over this portion because I put just a little bit of adhesive in here where it was going to be covered up. Because my other card I had used vellum, and so you have to be really careful where you put your adhesive on vellum. And like I say, I want mine about here. You could use a punch or whatever to flag the end of your sentiment, but you don't have to have one. Here's how you do it if you don't have one. You just cut down in the center however deep you want that to be. Okay, so we've put this little mark down in here. We've cut straight down in there. And then we are going to line up the point of our scissor to the end of that line, and we're going to put the corner right in there. Okay, and you just cut that off. And then you come to this side and you do the exact same thing, lining it up with the point. That's the critical point, is you can kind of play with the angle here a little bit, but you want to make sure that you end in the point of that flag. And so I think that that is really happy. Now, of course, like I say, this isn't on vellum, so we could move this down a little bit if we wanted to allow that white portion to show through just a little bit more. But I do still like it up there. So that's what we'll do. We'll just keep it in the same place. I have some dimensionals, and I am just going to place some on the back of our strip. And I will have the measurements for everything on my blog. Just follow the link in the section below here. You'll see that there is a description box, and you can just go there, and I will have a link straight to my post, and you can find all of those measurements. And I'm just going to be lazy today and use my fingers to remove these backings since I only have 4. I'm just going to take this sentiment and line this end of the sentiment with this fresh freesia. And if that's straight, then your sentiment should be straight as well. Just give it a double check before you press everything down. I like adding a little bling. And let's see here. I want to do one of the fresh freesia ones here, just to variegate that color up a little bit on the end. And let's see then. I do like a few of these polished pink ones. And I'm going to use the bigger ones since this is kind of a bold pattern. I think that shows up a little bit better, just to bring it a little sparkle and bling. It makes me happy. So I think that this is a fun card. As I said, you can make this with either the contents in your paper pumpkin kit or without. Of course, if this paper is all used up, you can just cut a piece of basic white and use this stamp and just use a couple different colors. Clean your stamp off if you change colors, but you could certainly make your own DSP like this. And I just used that same technique and did the front of an envelope. And I used the flower stamps and these little sprigs and just put the centers of my flowers in that to create an envelope for our card today. So I hope that you like it. I think it's super fun. Let me bring the other card in that I did first. And you can see the difference. I like the white better than the vellum. I think it pops more, especially against this polished pink. But I just think that that is fun too. I like both of them. I like the more subtle look and I like the bolder look. I probably do like this one just a little bit better. It comes off as being a little larger just because you can see it more, and I think that really works with the larger sentiment that I have going on there as well. This card, I just simply used the polished pink ink and used this large floral image with the greenery on the edges, and then I took that smaller flower and the fresh freesia and just made little ones on the side. I used the evening evergreen for my sentiment and cut it out. This tag is from the Peaceful Moments set, I believe, and I had a little bit of twine left, so I went ahead and used that. But you could use any twine that you have, especially if you have some of the white. You can color it whatever color you want with our Stampin' Blends. And then on the inside, I just put a white layer. You could stamp on the inside of it. I think it would have been pretty if I would have even added a layer of that evening evergreen. Cut this size down a little bit and put some of that green in there too. That would have been really pretty as well. I think I like this one the best. I just love working with this evening evergreen. Don't have any idea why. I am usually not a dark color person, but this color has won my heart. And so I took those little stamps, and instead of using this for the center of the flowers, I just used it as its own element on here and stamped my own DSP on my card base. And then I used our Stitch rectangle dies and made these 2 layers, one of gold, one of basic white. Then I simply took that splotchy stamp and stamped the same way around the inside. I will tell you to be careful with this stitching, because if you kind of do it on the side, then that's going to leave that stitching mark on your stamp. So don't go directly from this and then turn it to try to do a second generation, because you will get a stamp mark and you won't be very happy with that. So if you go over the edge on the stamping part, just kind of stamp it off, rub it on a piece of scratch paper, and then start again. But here's thanks for everything. I like that they gave us that little stamp as well. And this stamp is also from that Artistically Inked set and the die set, and I cut it out in gold as well. And just did that same thing, except I didn't cut the front part of my card away. So I just thought this one turned out really, really pretty. This would be very nice for a masculine thank you card. And I did the same thing on the envelope as the other one and just made my flap out of my own DSP. So I think that that is really a pretty set as well. And remember, with our paper pumpkin kits, the best thing about them is the stamps are ours to keep, and we can take them and use them to make cards just like this long after the contents inside of the box are gone. Don't forget to sign up before July 10 to receive next month's kit, and I will post a graphic of that in my blog post. It looks to be that it's going to be some more natural elements and maybe softer colors. So that is something that always works in, you can always use those elements in different types of cards. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.